Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's Dustin Nulf with Keller Williams Realty's The Dustin Nulf Team, the Full House LLC, Pittsburgh Property Management. It's been a while. Apologize for the delay in videos. However, life happens, right? So today we're going to talk about how I intend to make $240,000 while I buy 24 rental units. So we're going to look at a model that I've been using to purchase rental units, and we're going to look at how you, especially if you're a real estate agent or broker, would be able to actually make money buying properties. And yeah, that kind of sounds like common sense. You're going to make money buying properties, but I'm talking about like literally coming out of pocket with no money essentially and buying properties and getting paid every step of the way. So we're going to look at that today. I want to remind you before we get started though, please check out my Patreon site. I'll have the link in the video here. It'll also be in the summary below the video on YouTube. Patreon.com / I think it's a / Dustin Nulf. And you can go there, and I would highly recommend at least supporting our channel with $1 a month contribution. I would really appreciate that. If you are an agent that's looking for some light coaching and support, as well as some cool downloadable content, you can get it on Patreon at $10 a month. And we do a coaching meeting once a month, a group coaching meeting. And we also have downloadable content that's available for you, including my expired mailer and for sale by owner 0% contract. We also do team coaching at $100 a month. And that is group coaching, same sort of situation there, once a month via Zoom or Google Meet. And then we also have downloadable content for the teams too. So if you want, for instance, a list of what your executive admin should be doing for you or your assistant should be doing for you, we have a punch list for that or a daily accountability list for that that is downloadable on Patreon. So check that out. I really appreciate it. And let's get rolling. So here it is. It's a simple concept, and what we're looking at is, some of you may know already, I'm a real estate investor. First and foremost, that's my passion. I like to invest in real estate, and that's why I got into real estate. So I have been a little bit distracted since 2008. I got into real estate, started selling it, got into building a team and focused on building a team. I kept buying real estate throughout the way and eventually started a property management company so I could make sure that I wasn't spending a whole lot of time managing these properties. And we've really got to the point now where I've got a great partner in the property management company, and I have a good little team working for me. I got a great assistants, and we're at the point now where I can buy more properties and just kind of feed them into the businesses that I've created in order to keep the ball rolling on the investment. So I've been focusing more on buying properties this year than I have on really anything else. And the model that I have been using is the BRRRR method, and I'm sure if you are into real estate investing, you've heard of the BRRRR method before. BiggerPockets is one of those areas where a lot of people talk about either the BRRRR method and house hacking and flipping. There's kind of three things that really catch people's attention. But the BRRRR method is you buy, you rehab the property, you re-tenant the property, you refinance the property, and then you repeat that process. And if you're doing it right, you're actually able to get into the property with maybe a little bit of money out of pocket, and then when you refinance it, you're getting all of your money back. So you're actually able to pick up properties and keep the ball rolling because you're just recycling the same funds and you're buying multiple properties with the same funds over time as you refinance. So that's the idea there. This what we're going to look at today is taking the BRRRR method one step further, and I'm able to do that because I'm a licensed real estate agent and broker. You may be able to do this if you're unlicensed as well, and we'll kind of talk about that a little bit. But you know, the first disclaimer, disclosure, waiver, notice before we get started with this video is I am not a real estate attorney. I am not a real estate accountant. I am not certified to do taxes or anything like that. So I'm going to give you ideas, but I'm not going to give you advice. If you want advice, you need to go to the correct professional to get that advice. So if you want to do this and you want to figure out if it's legal or not for you to do it, you need to talk to an attorney. Don't take Dustin's word for it. I live in Pennsylvania and I am a licensed broker. What I do may not apply to your situation. So let's take a look at it. So it's simple, right? Let's take a look. And I'm going to show you an example of a couple of the properties that I've purchased recently and how I'm doing it, how I'm getting paid every step of the process, and how I intend to make at least $240,000 buying 24 units in the next year. All right, so kind of the model that I'm sticking with here is I've been dealing a lot with single family homes. This would work with multifamily as well. You just have to like multiply the units, but the numbers are still going to work the same. So in Pittsburgh, these deals are more and more difficult to find, but they're still out there, and I'm expecting more deals to be popping up soon as the market cringes from the COVID-19 shutdowns and whatnot. So here's an example of one of the properties that I purchased. So the purchase price was $35,000. Okay? And so that's the purchase price. That's the base purchase price. So what I did, because I'm a licensed real estate agent, I can get paid a commission on a sale. So I added a $5,000 commission that would be paid to my broker. That ends up getting paid to me at the end when it's all said and done. I work for a company that caps. I cap on my sales anyway, so like literally this $5,000 is full. That's 100% going to me when this closes. So right now we've got our purchase price on the contract then is going to show $40,000. Now, I'm not going to get into the nuances of what I've done here, but I actually showed the purchase price as $35,000 and a commission on top of that because I wanted our recorded sale price to be lower. So if the taxing bodies reassessed the property, they were looking at $35,000 as the sale price because the commission is not necessarily the sale price. That doesn't count, right? So I had this written up that it was $35,000 plus a $5,000 commission. That way, if it got reassessed, the taxing bodies would look at it as a $35,000 deal, and my taxes therefore would stay lower. So, but anyway, I'm all in for $40,000 to buy it, and then there's some closing costs and that sort of stuff. I'm not going to throw a closing cost in here. If you want to do your own detailed calculations, go ahead and do that. But the closing costs on something like this are minimal. Okay, so after that, I'm going to put $15,000 in repairs into the property. So that's going to put me up to $55,000 spent to purchase and renovate the property. So that's the first two sections of the BRRRR method. You buy and then you renovate or rehab. So really, I'm going to be in it for around $55,000. Yes, it may be a couple $1,000s more because of closing costs. I might go over budget a little bit for repairs or whatever. It might be a couple $1,000s more than that. But for the most part, we're sticking around this $55,000 mark. I actually, the first two properties I did like this, I was under budget for both of them, which is fantastic. So I'm going to be in it for all in at $55,000. So we got to remember that number. So now I'm going to erase this. We're going to save the $55,000, and then we're going to look at what this property is going to look like as far as a refinance goes, and what it's going to be worth after it's fixed up and there's a new tenant in there. Okay, so we got $55,000 in. I'm going to write this up here so we remember this. All right, so now the goal is that I'm going to place a tenant And this one particular property, it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home in the Penn Hills area of Pittsburgh. Really nice area, up and coming. The market's super fast right now. It's a hot rental market. A lot of people like to live there because it's a nice little suburb with nice little houses. Okay, so we've got 55 into it. We're going to rent it out. I'm aiming for at least $900 a month. Okay, so the goal rent is $900 a month. Now the tenant is going to pay for the water, sewer, trash, electric, gas, everything, right? So I should have no real expenses once it's tenanted. Okay. Now there are going to be things like over time when you calculate your pro forma, you're going to be looking at the cost of maintenance and the cost of turnovers and vacancy rates and that sort of stuff. But in general, I'm looking to get a tenant in there for $900 a month. Now, when you're buying single-family homes and you're buying residentially zoned multifamily homes, the appraisers are going to look at not only the income of the property to value it, but they're also going to look at comparable homes, just like you would if you were like selling a house that you lived in, or you're going to be buying a house to live in. So they're going to be looking at the income, but they're also going to be looking at what that house could sell for on the open market. So that's one super important key ingredient here that you need to make sure that you understand. If you're very aware of what the value of the property is and you're sure that it's going to work, like if for instance this one, if you're sure that property is going to be worth $120,000 after you put 55 into it total, and you're going to rent it out for $900, then the comparables are high, right? You're good with the comparables. Now you need to make sure your income numbers work. So we got to hit two different appraisal criterias. We got to hit that income and we got to hit that comparable value. So the income value, just a simple way to figure out if the income is going to justify an appraisal or a reassessment, is you're going to take and you're going to follow the 1% rule. The 1% rule is your income should be 1% of the value of the property. And if you divide that out, if you divide this out, 900 by 1%, that's going to give you $90,000. And this is what I was going for then. So I knew income-wise that the bank would probably look at it and say, yeah, it's worth 90 grand because of the income that's coming in. But now I got to find comps out there. And I was able to find comps that were anywhere between like 85,000 all the way up to like 135 grand. So the comps were out there, and what you got to be careful of is that, you know, when you try to do your refinance, the bank's going to order appraisal. The appraiser's going to go out and they're going to look at the property, and the appraiser's going to pick their own comps. So a good thing that you can do if you want to make sure the appraiser at least sees the comps that you're looking at is give them those comps. Give them a printout and say, here's the comps that I found, and this is why I thought that it was worth what it's worth. This might help you out, and then let them do their thing. So now what I'm looking for is if I can get this thing, let's say the thing praises at 110,000 on a comparable basis, and it appraises at 90 grand for an income basis. The bank is going to go for the lower value, and they're going to say, well, we're going to give you a loan based on this because we want to hedge our bets and we don't want to give you a loan based on the higher number. And that's just the way these commercial banks are going to do it. I'm going to get commercial financing for it, and they're going to assess it at the $90,000 value. So we're going to make some space here again, but we're going to remember that $90,000 number now. All right, so we got 55 grand as our investment, and now we've got a $90,000 appraised value. So the bank's going to look at that, and they're going to say, okay, $90,000, we're willing to lend you up to 80% LTV. Now, every bank is different. You need to know what your banks are willing to lend, okay? Some commercial lenders, and I'm talking commercial because we bought this under an LLC and we're using it as an investment, so I'm getting commercial financing through a bank. So some commercial lenders will only lend you 70% LTV, loan to value. Others will only lend you 75% loan to value. So you need to know what bank you're working with and what sort of offer they're going to give you, because if they're only going to lend you on 70% loan to value, that's going to drastically change your numbers and how you're going to calculate your numbers. But in my case, my bank's going to lend me 80% loan to value, which is, so we're going to multiply that by 80%. And that means that the bank is willing to lend $72,000 on this property. All right? So they're going to say that they're willing to give me a $72,000 cash out refinance value or loan to value on this property. Now, I only got 55 into it, so let's take 55 out, and that's going to give us cash in the pocket, essentially. So the difference there is $17,000. Okay? So if this is all I got into it, then I'm going to end up getting this money back whenever the cash out refinance happens. So now if you remembered, I paid myself $5,000 at the beginning. Now I'm getting paid $17,000. Now there are closing costs and there are other things involved, right? So there's going to be closing costs, there's going to be bank fees and that sort of stuff. So I'm not actually going to walk out with 17. I might walk out with like 15 or 14,000 here, plus my initial 5,000, which is going to put me at $20,000 take on this particular property. Okay. Now, the cool thing is that when I bought this property, I didn't use my own money. Okay, I've done this before with credit cards. This last one, I did it with hard money. So I found a local hard money lender, which is a private money lender, and he's very familiar with the market. He's very familiar with real estate in the Pittsburgh area because he also flips properties and knows the values. And he's also very familiar with me. We have a history. He knows about me. He knows about my work ethic. He knows how I operate. He knows that I know what I'm doing. So I brought him the property. I said, this is what I want to do. This is how much money I'm going to put into it. This is what it's going to be worth when I'm done. This is what I'm going to be able to cash out, refinance for. He wanted to see my credit score history, all that sort of stuff. I needed to sign a personal guarantee, et cetera, et cetera. But he said, because of this deal, I'm willing to essentially fund nearly 100% of it. So the only thing that I had to come with was the closing cost out of pocket. And this particular deal cost me like $2,500 out of pocket. So when I closed it, I paid $2,500 to close, and then I got a $5,000 check for my commission. So I ended up getting paid $2,500 to buy the property. Then I do the repairs, and the repair money, if you remember, was $15,000 for repairs. That repair money is held in escrow until I do the repairs, and then the hard money lender pays that out to me. So I've got to put my own money into the repairs too until I get reimbursed. But essentially, I'm just kind of juggling my own funds until somebody else's funds come in. And what ends up happening, now this is a best case scenario property. If I were to do 24 of these, I'd make $480,000 in a year, okay? So this is a best case scenario property. My worst case scenario, so if I'm gonna make $240,000 in a year buying 24 units, my worst case scenario is I make $5,000 when I buy it and I make $5,000 when I refinance it. And that's $10,000, and if I do that 24 times, it's $240,000. So if I'm shooting for a worst case scenario, but I get deals like these, then I'll make $480,000 in a year. And the cool thing about making that money is the $5,000 is commission, okay, and then $15,000 of this was not commission. So I just realized I calculated that wrong, but let's use $20,000 because it's an easy number anyway. That should have been actually $19,000. But $5,000 is commission. $15,000 is not commission. It's equity. Okay. The $5,000 that's commission, I have an LLC that I run all my commission through. It's an LLC set up as an S corp. I don't have to pay self-employment tax on that. So I've got some tax shelter there. I do pay some taxes on that $5,000. The 15 grand that's equity is equity. I don't have to pay taxes on that until I sell the property. So if I sell the property 20 years from now and I pay capital gains, that's when I pay taxes on that equity I pulled out. So the cool thing is, it's $15,000 that I have no tax liability on right now. It's just 15 grand in my bank account. According to the IRS, it doesn't really exist at the moment. I mean, it does, but the taxes are deferred on it. So really cool thing to do. It's a cool way to build up your operating account for an investment company or an investment business, and you're able to snowball that money and roll it down the hill. So if I were to do 10 of these deals and I made 15 grand in equity on each deal, I've got $150,000 in my operating account that I otherwise wouldn't have, and now I'm able to broaden my horizons, right? Like if I see a good deal where I might be able to use hard money for $300,000 of it, and then the hard money lender is going to want me to put in 100 grand. If I got 150 grand in the bank, then I have enough to buy a $400,000 property and do this same model but on a bigger scale, right? So I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments under the video. If there's anything else that you'd like to see or know about, please feel free to ask. And again, visit me on patreon.com if you'd like to support this channel. Just log in and sign up for $1 a month. I'd appreciate that. If you want to sign up for real estate agent coaching at the $10 a month level, that's for agents that are kind of solo agents or beginning at building a team. And the $100 a month level is for agents that are looking to build a team or already have a team started. So check it out. Good seeing you. Appreciate it. Subscribe. Hit the thumbs up below if you like this content. Really appreciate it. Take care.